Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another movie review. I know, another one. This is the fourth one in the span of a couple days, really. And this one is actually a brand new one, so this ain't gonna be like a review for some old. This is new, this is fresh. This is 12 Strong, let me see if I can remember it. What was it? The Secret Life of Bees. What was it called? The Declassified True Story of the Horse Soldiers. The War Horse. Remember that movie? There's a sequel to that. Does anybody remember War Horse? I feel like that movie got forgotten quick. That was like the year where Steven Spielberg directed like 2 movies. I think it was War Horse and what was it? Tintin? I think so. And I think not only was that the same year, I think that was the same month. I think that was December that those came out. Wow. So anyway, let's talk about this movie. 12 Strong, the Declassified True Story of the Horse Soldiers. I always screw that last part up. I always want to say War Horses. And this movie is something I was a little, not excited for, but I was interested. I thought it looked okay. The trailer looked fine. But the story itself was what interested me, because it's a story that really happened. Obviously, it was a true story. Maybe not exactly how it happens in this movie, but of course it's a movie, so you take little liberties here and there, but it's a story that was a little, maybe not fascinating, but it was interesting. You know, it was like, oh, okay, I kind of want to see how that plays out in a movie. A bunch of soldiers, 12 of them, of course, enlist themselves to be a part of a team that goes over to Afghanistan right after 9/11 happens, to go and, so I guess, wipe out the Taliban before a war even really starts. They just go over there kind of secretly, just go over there and try to wipe out the Taliban after what happened with 9/11. So it's an interesting story enough, and we have Chris Hemsworth, we got Michael Shannon, we got Michael Pena, and Trevante Rhodes, who was just in Moonlight, of course. He played the older version of course, of the main character, and I was interested. I was like, okay, this is how you would make me like your movie. If you gave me enough character. Obviously these were real people. They even show you at the end, like they show you a picture of all 12 of them, like, you know, together taking a picture. So they're real people, even though they look almost nothing like their real counterparts. The actors don't look anything like, Chris Hemsworth doesn't look anything like the actual guy. Mike Nilsson, I think his name is. I'm not even sure if that's his actual name in real life. I think it's not, actually, but so whatever. Point is that it's based on that guy. Even if it's not the same name, it's the same person, I guess. But it doesn't look anything like him. Like, whatever. That's not the point. As long as they portray those characters well, or those people well, and we get enough development, and we get to know them at least a little bit. And this is where this movie kind of failed, because I was hoping it would do that. I hope it would do that and give us some action, some really tense, dramatic action, you know, well filmed, and, you know, maybe even a little bit entertaining, just here and there, just to see some people die. You know, I know that sounds horrible, but, you know, let's be honest, we all like to watch that. You know, Hacksaw Ridge, when people started to die, it was entertaining. Let's not lie. But we wanted to see the real true story of these people, and we wanted to get to know them, and this movie does not do that. It's sadly, we got Chris Hemsworth, who's the biggest star, of course, in the movie, and we don't really get to know much about his character. I'm going to say character just in case, you know, this isn't too much based on the actual person. So I'll just say character for now on. And we don't really know his character. We don't really get to know any of the characters, really, besides maybe, like, this guy's the funny one. Michael Pena is the funny one. And then we got Trevante Rhodes, who has a little sidekick. He has a sidekick in the movie. We got Michael Shannon, who also has a family, just like Chris Hemsworth's character. By the way, he has a family. And Michael Shannon, trying to think of character, any character these people have. Like, he's friends with Chris Hemsworth. You don't really get to know these people. I get it, it's 12 people, but we don't get to know any of them is the problem. Now, the movie itself admittedly has some really good action. There's a lot of it, too. If you want to see a lot of desert combat, then you're going to get that. And you want to see a lot of explosions, a lot of people dying. I'll bet a little bit too much CG blood. You'll get a fair amount of action that's well filmed enough. Nothing too terrific. There's going to be a lot of shots of people hiding behind rocks, pointing out, pew, 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 shooting, and someone dies. Someone hiding behind a rock or a piece of a house that got blown up and they're hiding and boo 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 and they're shooting. That's a lot of the action here, but it is well filmed. It's well choreographed. The cinematography is decent. There's nothing too amazing about it, but it will keep your attention. It's not going to be something like, oh my god, I can't tell what's going on, or oh my god, this is so boring. It keeps your attention. So the action is good. If you're coming into this expecting an action film, but really I wanted some character. I really did, and it kind of reminded me of 13 Hours, which is funny because it's, you know, starts with a number, and it's a January war movie. Even though I don't think 13 Hours was, I guess, technically a war movie, it was more like a kind of like a survival film in a way. I know it was taking place during a war, but you know what I mean. This one is straight up a war movie. This one feels like one. 13 Hours is like people stuck in a building and people are coming up from all sides and they have to defend themselves, you know? So that one, it felt very similar, except 13 Hours had a little bit more character. We got to know them a little bit more, at least the main ones, and the action was a little bit more impressive. So that one actually worked a little bit better than this. This one, just like, the action was fine. Again, it kept your attention, but it wasn't great, and the characters are just so, they're not bad or anything, they're just nothing really. And I get it, they're real people, but it just sucks that most of them, especially the other like few of the 12 that we don't get to know, they're just there to make a joke once in a while and like, you know, like mess with one another and like crack like, hey, don't cry on me. And it makes the movie feel way longer than it should, because it's just a lot of blank character. Like, if we're interested in the characters, the movie would fly by much quicker. But this movie, because it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, it feels that length. You know, a lot of movies like that are really good, that are like 2.5 hours long, go by quick because you're so interested. This one, not so much, at least not for me. The acting is fine, don't get me wrong. Chris Hemsworth, even though he's really trying to get rid of that accent, it's still there, but he does a good job. He's charismatic for the most part. His character isn't all that, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't say not likable, but he's just not, he's nothing really. The best we get of his character is that we learn that he's more of a combat trainer and he's never actually gone out into combat himself. So we're anticipating for his first combat and actual thing of combat to see how he would react. But even when that happens, it's like, okay, he did fine. There's a scene where he goes, whoo, after the battle, and a character comes out and is like, it never gets any better. And then the next scene is just, all right. It doesn't delve deep into any of these characters. It really doesn't. Also, I noticed a lot of technical problems in this movie, which really was weird. There's some obvious dubbing that was really awkward, especially since the lip syncing was not good. And maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I was just starting to get a little bored, and maybe I was getting so bored the audio was out of sync in my brain while I was watching the visuals. But I don't think so. I don't think I was that bored. That's never happened to me before. So I'm pretty sure it was just some dubbing was really bad. And also there was a couple of shots where you see like Taliban soldiers shooting their weapons, and you can see them like moving the weapons, but there's no muzzle fire, there's no sound. You just see them going like they're supposed to be shooting the gun. And there was a couple times I saw that. I was like, really? You're making a war movie and you're gonna, all right, one time I'm okay with, but I saw it at least 3 times, and I probably missed a couple where there's just people like waving their guns like they're firing it, except there's no muzzle flash, there's no sound. I'm like, what's going on? Maybe they ran out of ammo and they're just like they were like trying to intimidate the American soldiers. That's also another thing I should mention, that the story actually has something kind of interesting going on, where the 12 soldiers that come to Afghanistan to, you know, wipe out the Taliban, they meet up with an ally in Afghanistan. I can't remember the person's name. He's a real person, obviously. Let me look it up real quick, because he's actually really important. General Abdul Rashid Dostum, I think that's how you pronounce his name, who is a real person, and he's probably the most interesting character. We get to know the most about him. And the relationship between him and Chris Hemsworth's character is actually really well done. For the most part. Again, we don't really know much about Chris Hemsworth, but when they're on screen together, they're both really good, and there's some chemistry there, you know. There's something, you know. We're getting something, and the dialogue feels like it's going by quick because we're actually invested. At least I was. So he's really good, that actor, and everybody else is fine. Again, like Michael Pena does his job, even though there's long stretches where he's not in the movie. When he shows up again, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you were in this. There's that Chips boy. And then Michael Shannon's gone for a long time, and he doesn't really do much. There's one thing that's kind of funny about his character. I'm assuming he's supposed to be a little bit older. Michael Shannon's like in his mid-40s, which is I'm sure older than everybody else there, Chris Hemsworth and stuff. So there's one part where I guess he dislocates his like back or something like that while he's riding one of the horses, because it's all about the horses. Kinda. The horses don't really play too much of a factor into this. They're just there so they can look cool shooting a horse. I mean, shooting on a horse and stuff. Which is a cool visual, but whatever. But there's a whole thing about him dislocating his back or something like that. So a lot of times where there's a war scene going on, he has to like be a sniper in the background and stuff, and he's always complaining about his back, and that was kind of funny. There's a couple of funny moments in this. And the ending itself, the ending fight scene is really good. It's well done. Again, it's well shot, well choreographed. It's well, but it's just not so well. You know what I mean? But not mean. It was fine. That's really the best I could say, is that 12 Strong was a movie that goes in one ear and through your eyes, out the other ear hole, and out of the back of your eyes. What? Anyway, I'm going to give it a 20. I have to give it a 20. I'm going to give it a 24 out of 40, which is a 6 out of 10. So there you go. Yeah, that's pretty much what I gave The Commuter. So if you want some generic action movies this month, then you came to the right place, baby. I'm sure Den of Thieves will be the exact same thing too. So I'll be checking that out in a few days. Until then, I hope you enjoyed that review. I hope you like me. Anyway, there you go. Thank you. Until next time. Goodbye. That's all. Yeah, we're done.